The Ryen Russillo Show was presented by DraftKings. Little thoughts on the Knicks Cup win and also how they stack up in the East, but way more important, we got Brian Windhorst. Yeah, that Brian Windhorst, star of the Hoop Collective. He is going to run through the Knicks lessons, what San Antonio is OKC better than historic Golden State? A lot on Giannis and the market. And I didn't even mean to do this, but LeBron's future. Look out, breakout aggregators, and would you trade Knipple for the entire Nets? We got a lot to do. A new announcement with Netflix and life advice. And should we all get into the arts? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is where you want to be. Player props, live bets, same game parlays. Bet on the biggest moments of the holiday season and the stars that make them unforgettable. And remember, DraftKings has your back with early exit. If your player goes down in the first period, you can still get paid in cash. With DraftKings, you're covered through the entire first half. Why bet player props anywhere else? New customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Holiday hoops, limited games, cash in. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code Ryen. That's code Ryen, R-Y-E-N. Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Chill.
Buy now and get the Russillo hoodie free. Call 1-800.
European Theater.
Of the week is the Oregon Duck.
We need a big push here.
Brian Windhorst will go a little bit deeper than I'm going to go right now on the Knicks NBA Cup win. Look, this stuff, what does it mean? It means the Knicks are really good, okay? We knew the Knicks were good last year. They made it to these conference finals. There's just something about them that feels a little bit better than last year. I want to run through a little bit of the game and then comparing last year's team and this year's team. The offensive rebounding really was the story. The bench numbers, even though you had a lot of scoring from Harper on San Antonio's side, so the bench numbers kind of even out. But Jordan Clarkson had this stretch where he hit a 3 off an offensive rebound, and 30 seconds later, another 3 off an offensive rebound. If you look at the scoring here, Wemby hit a 3 at the end of the third quarter. Well, 2 minutes or so to go in the third quarter, made it 92-81. Then you go 3 minutes into the fourth quarter. There's 3 threes, 2 for Clarkson off of Mitchell Robinson offensive rebounds, OG Anunoby, another 3 off of his own offensive rebound. So the Knicks go from down 11 to up 5. It's this 19-3 run, and that's kind of the game. You know, Wembanyama was limited to 25 minutes. He did not have a great fourth quarter, only because it was our standard for him to like come in and almost do the impossible where, you know, he had that stretch where he hit a couple threes, he hit the mid-range, he hit the drives. I don't know if he was tired. I don't know if it's OG Anunoby with the smaller thing that we're seeing against Wembanyama. We've seen it for a while now, is that teams are just like, give me a bulldog to just get in his ribs all night long, and maybe that slows down his freedom of movement. So we saw it with Caruso to close the game against Oklahoma City, and it kind of worked and then also didn't work. And again, to remind you, those were straight up defensive possessions. They weren't doubling really at all with Caruso. If you're going to find a double team in there, you certainly can find it. And in this case, it was OG. And then when he was out, they were fine with Mitchell Robinson. And, you know, look, sometimes Mitchell would get him and sometimes Wemby would get him. So it wasn't like this thing that you felt like was a major problem one way or the other. But it did feel like Wemby was back to last year's Wembanyama of not being as forceful. And then some of the drives can just get a little awkward. And then he and Cat had like an awkward off. And there's other parts of this game, too, that are important. Because if you're like, oh, well, if Wemby had played the full game, well, look, Hart was limited. He played 29 minutes. We didn't even know if Cat was going to come back in the game with this leg thing, but he did come back in at the same time that Wembanyama came in to close this one with about just under 5 minutes to go. Bridges I didn't even see him out there in the fourth quarter. And then the bench part of it, which I think is important, is that it's Clarkson and it's Kolek, who was terrific, had a bunch of little plays and an incredibly smart play where it looked like Wembanyama was in a full sprint. Well, it didn't look like it. He was in a full sprint, and Mitchell Robinson's trying to keep up with him. So this wasn't something like the other centers not getting back in transition. Like Mitchell's trying to keep up with him. And it looks like it's going to be set up for an incredible lob run for Wembanyama. And Kolek just it wasn't even like a football thing of like chipping the tight end, but maybe, he just makes sure I get in the way a little bit, even though I'm so much smaller. Just really an aware play. I love that kind of stuff. Like, hey, I don't have the ball. Should I be doing anything good? Like, yeah, there's plenty of opportunities. Find work. That's our Mitchell Schwartz quote on what you should be doing if you're in pass protection. Find work. Find work when you're in transition as well in the NBA. So the Knicks are the 2 seed, 2.5 games behind Detroit. The Knicks are 18-7. They were 18-10 when they had their 18th win. So that was the only thing I was looking at here. Here's something that I think is important. Now, granted, this team made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, right? But going into the playoffs, we thought of Cleveland, what we thought of Boston. The Knicks are so much fun when it's rolling, and I think the New York City part of that has something to do with it. But it's just a really fun team with a lot of really good personalities, even if the Brunson off-arm bullshit and all the initiating contact stuff that he does drives me absolutely fucking crazy every single night. Brunson ran over. All right. If you look at last year, this Knicks team went 15-23 against teams 500 or better. It's something I look at the end of the year. Well, I guess I look at it throughout the year, but the end of the year when you're trying to figure out like playoff stuff, historically that for me has been then an indicator, and it can get all jumbled up with, do we want to take it a further, step than, who was out, who wasn't out, especially with some of the seasons that we've had for some of the top players missing games. But as it pertains to that number, I was like 15-23. It was the worst of any of the top 5 seeds, records against 500 or better. So it's something I'll look at. Sometimes the teams are like, are they a little fraudulent? They're 8-5 against teams that are 500 better so far this year. Looking at the offensive, defensive, rebounding stuff this year and last year, 5th in offense last year, number 2 this year. Defense 13th last year, actually 11th, and the same number allowed, like points per 100 possessions. It's the exact same number so far, 25 games in. Rebounding is improved just a touch. 5th in the league. Offensive rebounding is 5th in the league. Offensive rebounding, they just destroyed San Antonio again. I can't say that enough if you missed it, because at one point there was like 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and the Knicks had 12 more field goal attempts. So they didn't even have to shoot it well, even as San Antonio had this stretch of 3-point shooting that didn't go great. So really what it comes down to is trying to look at this Knicks team and go, all right, are you afraid of Detroit? The Detroit thing is so much more real than the other like newcomer stories. We talked about the Miami Heat correction. It's like, yeah, but they go so fast. Well, now they're losing games again. Toronto, I like better than Miami, and Toronto, I have more respect for watching it play out at the beginning of the season. I don't know that I would pick that team to beat anybody in the playoffs. The Boston thing is maybe more surprising than even the Toronto thing is. They've been terrific. I think there's a development storyline with Boston that's incredible. And Jaylen Brown, who I thought probably maybe too excited about being the number 1 option in Tatum's absence, has not only been too excited, there's nothing negative to say about it. It's been unbelievable how efficient this guy has been and how much more of the scoring burden he's taken on, which you thought maybe would be a little bit more challenging because he doesn't have an all NBA guy right next to him. So the East is this Orlando thing that let's see how it looks with a month of everyone actually being there. But the Knicks, the point is the Knicks, because of Cleveland's shooting fall off, where they were the second best, first bet, however you want to frame it for last year, they were one of the 2 best shooting teams in the NBA last year. They're atrocious shooting so far this year. I'm going to ask Windhorst about that one. It's setting up nice for the Knicks. Things will change. People get hurt. People don't get hurt, whatever. But who the Knicks are today, I feel better about who they were a year ago, not only about the team, but also the surrounding competition in the conference. Basketball season is here, which means the excitement of being in the stands before tip-off is here too. The Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in a few taps. It's incredibly easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included, so what you see is what you pay. I booted up the app today and saw Cavs Bulls tickets that start at just $28. I'd pay $48 to watch the Cavs shoot it a little bit better. I'd pay $68 if I would get a VIP meet and greet with Sam Merrill where he was rude to me. $108 if he was going to be nice. Knowing Sam, I'm sure he'd be $100. It'd be worth the $108. I think he'd be nice for free. That's just the way I think he's cut. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code Russillo, Russillo, 2 S's, 2 L's, cheat code for you there, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code Russillo, Russillo, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. He joins us from his home. I believe Chris Paul was getting shots up in the background. Brian Windhorst.
Yeah.
From ESPN and my favorite podcast, which at the end of the year, it told me I listened to the most episodes of the Hoop Collective with this guy and his crew. So good to see you.
Did our little thing that Spotify, did that play that I recorded, or did you not even see that?
Wrapped?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like you're in the 1% of listeners. Or like, so I'm like all the way P1 for the Windhorst
right.
crew.
That elite status comes with no perks.
I sent it to you, though. I let you know. I don't know what I was doing behind it. I just want to I was like, I can actually text this guy. How cool is my
You're
career?
You're going places, buddy.
My little brother was like, you know him? I was like, we're not tight, but it's okay. We'd shoot a text every now and then. So look, the Knicks win the cup. Another great event. This is just a lot of fun. And then, of course, this always leads to kind of like what's next. And I ran the numbers in the open of some of the improvements for this team. I'm starting with a negative question, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. Is it still too early for a team that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals? But when you understand the front office going, we need to be a little different, and we think long-term that makes us better. I don't know if it's a cup win, but based, I guess, on what you've seen from the Knicks this year, does it feel like we all understand the Thibs decision, even though it seemed outrageous based on the team's history?
It's tough, man. It's a tough thing to explain. And I have a lot of Knicks fans in my life, and they really wanted explanations, and it's hard to put it into a paragraph. I think, and it's one of these things where it's nuanced. Where if they win the East this year, they'll be able to say, "Yep, it worked." But it's possible that they could move the ball down the field and not get farther, which is the difficulty when you're playing high-level pro sports. I will say that in this particular game, this taught you some things about the Knicks. I don't know how much of it applies to what's going to happen in the spring, but in this particular game, like Jalen Brunson didn't have a good game. He was good, like he had 25 points, but there's been dozens of games where Jalen Brunson's won them the game in the fourth quarter. He had sort of by his standards, sort of an average fourth quarter. Karl Towns was, dealing with this leg issue. I don't even took a shot in the fourth quarter. He played for a few minutes, but he was a non-factor down the stretch of this game. They started the fourth quarter, I think, down 4 or 5. And they were down like 15, 12 or something like that in the third quarter. And they make this comeback and put the game away on the back of OG Anunoby and Mitch Robinson and Tyler Kolek. The fact that I think their bench scored 18 points in the fourth quarter. I think the Spurs scored 19 as a team. And again, I'm not arguing that there's, that Jordan Clarkson is the missing piece that will lead them to the finals. Nor am I arguing that Mike Brown's willingness to move off of the game plan in this particular case. Again, in this game, this may not happen again, but in this game, the Spurs were applying ball pressure because they have great physical, athletic perimeter defenders. They're applying ball pressure to Brunson, which is, on the first page of the scouting report. It's not like this is unheard of, but it was bothering them a little bit. And so Mike Brown, and I'm sure before the game, this was on his option list. I'm not saying, I'm trying not to be too over the top here, but Mike Brown says, you know what? I'm going to put Kolek in there and play with the 2 small guards to give 2 ball handlers to give a little bit of a relief on the pressure on Brunson. And it works. And the reason it works is because he had the faith to play Kolek, even through times when he struggled. Again, looking at this game, it's an interesting, showing of how the Knicks have changed their ideology. They're not going anywhere ultimately unless Brunson is great and unless Towns is great and under pressure. But I do think that you can take this slice where they won this crown, whatever you want to call it, and, acknowledge that they are, a developing team.
Yeah, I think that's fair, because I think any of us that have had any access to Thibs, it's like you never want to sit there and say like he's the problem, but
I love Thibs. I love Thibs.
But whenever a team has that kind of run, like it's really easy to fire the coach that's, hey, it's been here 3 years, this isn't working. Sometimes it's so bad, it's like, okay, the players have totally tuned it out. That's where you kind of rely on the people who's around the team every single day, and you talk to them, and they're kind of like, look, this thing was kind of over. And that's where, like, nationally you can lose that perspective because you're not around it every single day. But for a front office that's done this great of a job overhauling this roster, all the Knicks stuff, and they've got the CAA ties, and it's like year after year, everybody's laughing at them, being like, oh, your grand plan, and like it's not working out. And then it kind of just does, right? And it works out for a million different reasons and all the different things they pull off. If they're sitting there watching that team play 82 games and make it to these conference finals, and they go, there's just something wrong with our approach, and it's a nice run, but we just don't know that it's sustainable. Those are the kind of ones where you almost have to just defer from the outside, even if it just makes no sense, because of how much we all love and respect Thibs.
The problem was they didn't have a backup plan ready to go. Like, typically
Right.
If you're going to move on, not typically, but a well-run organization would have instead they kind of look bumbling a little bit because they're trying to hire all these coaches who are under contract elsewhere. I'm trying to remember who in the media, I'd like to give him credit. I just don't remember right now. I think maybe it was Ian Begley and SNY. He was like, the Knicks coaching search was a stimulus package because all these coaches were getting extensions. Billy, I respect Billy Donovan a lot, but I'm not sure that his performance level was like begging out for a giant raise and an extension in Chicago, but the Bulls wanted to hire, or the Knicks wanted to hire him. Next thing you know, he's got a deal. And, I think some of these other guys were probably going to get deals anyway, but, the same sort of thing happened like with the Penn State coaching search. Penn State was, they fired their coach football coach, midway through the season, and, 3 or 4 coaches, just at the specter of maybe being a candidate got raises. There was a Penn State stimulus. So when you fire a coach who's just led you through your most successful season in 25 years, and then you don't have an ironclad plan, and the perception is you're hiring your 4th or 5th choice, you're going to have to deal with some fallout from that. But the Knicks obviously felt that they had to do it, and maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. And in my case, like, I've known Mike Brown for 20 years. I have a lot of respect for him as a coach, and I, on a personal level and on a professional level, love and respect Tom Thibodeau. He's actually, you'd never know it by looking at the press conferences, but he is a very engaging and warm and really charming person. He's gruff, but there's I worked with him at ESPN, not to mention covered him all these years, but worked him at ESPN, and he really is a wonderful guy to spend time with. And, I understand why certain players really fall for him and want to play for him. He's tough, but it's a complicated situation that the Knicks have put themselves in. And it's a good situation. Ultimately, you want to be in a situation where you're playing for stakes and you have expectations, but they've put themselves in position where their pathway to call the season success is narrow. And that's why winning this is an important step.
Before I want to get to the San Antonio side, I just want to stay in the East a little bit, because Detroit just comes out on fire, and that feels more real than maybe some of the other good starts from some of those other teams, like in that pack with Miami and Toronto. I mean, Philadelphia, maybe it was like 4-1 or something like that. Maybe a month straight of Embiid. They figure some of this stuff out, but it feels like for the Knicks, I still have a lot of faith in Orlando. This Boston thing is incredible. There's maybe a Tatum conversation that changes things around, but the team that won 64 games last year in Cleveland is 15-12. They've gone from one of the best shooting teams in the league to one of the worst shooting teams. Sure, there is an excuse of rotational inconsistency here, but I still can't believe it's this bad. And if I'm a Knicks fan, I'm looking around at the rest of the East going like the one expected, despite their disappointing playoff exit last year. Like, I felt like that would be playoff seasoning for Cleveland. They would run through, they'd win 60 games. I love their options. And yet every night I watch them, I go, you're going to lose to this team tonight? Like, I'm waiting for that switch. And I don't know if you have, it's one thing to say, hey, they can't shoot. I just don't know why.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, their fans have been incredibly frustrated because they have been falling down, whether it's against teams like Washington or Charlotte. That's their last two games. They've been falling down and playing from behind for like the majority of these games. And then they put together like a run in the fourth quarter where they're giving all this effort. And that can be very frustrating for the fans because they're like, why are you playing this way? It may even if there's multiple factors that are leading to it, it's a terrible look. Their thing is like with anything where you have some sort of, I don't want to say it's a failure, but you have this big letdown. It's not just one thing. They have a number of things. But they were the number one 3-point percentage team in the league last year, and they were the number one offense in the league last year. And they generated a lot of 3-point shots, and they, you could say that they probably maybe shot above, maybe they were just maybe a little bit over their heads last year, but it doesn't explain how poorly they've been this year. It's multi-layered. I mean, number one, because they were worried about their perimeter defense, because they felt that they had, if their three best perimeter players are Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and last year Ty Jerome, who was sixth man of the year candidate. All three of them are undersized positionally by NBA standards. And they were concerned about that. And so they made the decision to basically swap out Lonzo Ball for Ty Jerome. It wasn't a clean exactly situation because they let Ty leave in free agency and they made a trade for Lonzo Ball. But essentially, they wanted a bigger guy on the perimeter. Lonzo Ball is not the shooter that Ty Jerome is. And not only that, Lonzo's having a terrible shooting year. He actually, after coming back from the injury, had demonstrated competence on 3-point shooting. He is a defensive first player at this point in his career. But he is the fall off from Ty Jerome to Lonzo Ball shooting wise has been huge. Then you have the fact that Max Strus has missed the whole season with a broken foot, the Jones fracture in his foot. Strus is not necessarily like top 5 3-point shooter percentage wise, but he's a reliable guy who puts up high volume at quality percentage and has for years and did throughout all of last season. So now you're down 2. Then you've got Darius Garland, who was a 40% 3-point shooter last year, who has injured his toe. And he re-injured it early this season, and you can tell he's playing hurt. And last Friday, for example, in Washington, he was 0 of 11 on threes. 0 of 11. And, he is shooting. He's terrible. He's had I think the second or third biggest point drop that of anybody. So now there's a third 3-point shooter. Then Sam Merrill, who was the guy that they decided to keep when Sam Merrill was a free agent and Ty Jerome was a free agent. And, they were both sort of undersized perimeter players. They elected to re-sign Merrill and let Jerome walk. It really upset Ty Jerome. He said as much. He really thought that he really liked his role in Cleveland, but they decided they needed Ball and Merrill. They liked the way Merrill fit better. Another 40% 3-point shooter, a guy who come off the bench last year. Well, this year he's missed the majority of the games with various injuries, and I think he's missed maybe the last 12 or so games with a hand injury. That's 4 3-point shooters. So they had 4 guys who were plus 3-point shooters last year who were like, I don't know if they were all over 40%, but they were killer. All 4 of them either no longer on the team or dramatically impacted. And you get into a situation where now how do you explain a team going from first to, because last time I checked, I don't know where they are right now. They're 28th in 3-point shooting. How do you go from first to 28th? I just explained it. Not to mention maybe some guys are just not shooting it great right now. So their defense remains okay. It's not elite, but I think they've generally stuck around the top 10. Now Evan Mobley is out for 2 to 4 weeks. He's their best defender. They may have some slippage there, but I would be more sounding the red alarm if they were 28th in defense. Then I would think that they got big trouble because they're defending still okay. And none of those guys are out for the year. It's not like these, even Strus is, making his way back. And you look at the Eastern Conference and nobody's 24-2. Granted, Detroit looks good. I'm being long-winded here, Ryan. I'm sorry.
Hey, man.
Yeah. So anyway.
You're giving us the explanation, though. I'll admit, there's still, I was watching Garland in that Charlotte game, and I was like, he's really good in the paint. He's actually getting, he's pretty quick on some of this stuff. And then I would look up like 2 possessions later. I go, is he actually like, I was like, he's actually struggling again. So like I'm looking for those moments of his quickness where it's not the toe, and then I'll be kind of tricked into thinking he's all right, and then I can see him kind of like laboring a bit, and then I was like, all right, so
he
here you go.
did look a little bit better the last 2 games, and again, one of the games he was 0 of 11 from 3, but when he re-aggravated the injury in Miami about 3-4 weeks ago, and he was not being able to get by guys in the perimeter, and that was a real concern. I remember I watched the Hawks play back-to-back games. The Hawks played in Cleveland and then in Philly a couple of weeks ago. And I saw Darius Garland not be able to get past the Hawks' size. He couldn't outrun them, I assume because of that foot. And then they played in Philly 2 nights later, and Maxey scored like 47. I don't remember what he had, but and it was just like the difference between seeing Maxey and Garland, who have similar styles. They both are speed players. I was like, man, that it's a little bit worrisome for Garland, but he has gotten better. He's gotten healthier. You're correct. I think he's looked better the last couple of games. We'll see if that takes.
On the San Antonio side of things, because it's always a bigger picture. I mean, the Cup story is a lot of fun. It's nice, the whole thing with Wemby on a minutes limitation, 25 in the game last night. Like it's not the full version of it, but whatever I thought of Castle coming out, he was kind of marketed as like a point guard before the draft, and I was like, look, I like him. And I remember watching one of the tournament games in person, and they were up. Was it Elon or Stetson or something? They were up like 40, and I go, this guy's running through screens like they're down 2 with a minute to go. So like there was a lot of stuff with him you could see, and I talked to Hurley about it. I was like, I don't know how you get this guy to do this kind of stuff, you know what I mean? But like that was the first thing that jumped out at me. They're getting destroyed, and he is playing defense and fighting through screens. And now you see him as an NBA player, you're like, all of this makes sense, that his mentality. But I still thought offensively, I'm like, I'm not really sure what he is. I'm not sure that he's a point guard. I love him. I love his aggressiveness. I love his attack. I think long term, I can't believe I'm even saying this soon into it, but like, De'Aaron Fox is, even if you aren't a De'Aaron Fox guy, his ability to get to a spot and pull up in those closing, get us a bucket moments, like he is one of those guys. But Castle breaking the paint and then keeping the play alive if he doesn't have what he needs. He's already incredibly physical. He's already smart with his body. And, I know you and Bobby Marks and Vincent Goodwill, one of the recent episodes that I was listening to, were kind of talking about Castle. And it's like, I used to kind of laugh like, all right, if Giannis is available and you're not going to trade like any of the guards, and it depends on the market, depends on who you're bidding against. But after what I've seen this season, I'm just telling you, like, I'm with you now. Like, you would just go, hey, if you want to make any deal with the Spurs, you're just not getting that guy. I'm
not sure they would trade him for anybody in the league.
Okay.
I can't tell you, because the thing about it is, like,
by the way, now you went too far. Or maybe they're going too far.
So, teams love parents love their child. Breaking news. Teams love their rookie. You go around and you hear, oh man, we love this guy. We love this guy. I cannot tell you how much the Spurs loved Castle when they got him. Like, right out of the gate, they were like, oh my God, do we love this guy? And they are convinced that he is the perfect guy to have with Victor. So, okay, you do never say never. We have this sort of thing now where whenever we come up against something we think is highly unlikely, we're like, well, the Lakers did get Luka, on
right.
on that standard, true. I guess if Jokic was available and they said, you can have Jokic, but you got to give us Castle. All right. So, they love Castle, and he had 12 assists in that game, and they love everything about his makeup. They love everything about the way he competes. They love everything about how his willingness to improve. They love Stephon Castle, man. I mean, so yes, I think the Spurs are in a position where they've got there's 3 guards who are all really good. And they've got these draft assets, and there's going to be this temptation to, do you do something to try to accelerate your championship pursuit? And the the Thunder went through this. There were calls for a year plus, go out and get player X. And it turned out that player was, by the way, it wasn't like they didn't do anything. They went out and got Alex Caruso, and they went out and signed Isaiah Hartenstein. Like, they went out and acquired guys who were not in their organization. I don't want to make it seem like they just sat on their group and let it all happen. But they resisted. Sam Presti was like, I believe in this core, and the way we're going to improve is we're going to do it internally. We're going to develop. We're going to finish our breakfast, was the way he said it. The Spurs and the Pistons are two teams that are faced with that sort of same situation. They both have extra draft capital, and they both have expiring contracts. They both have, young pieces other people want. Like, it's going to be some temptation. And I'm not saying the Spurs will resist, but I would be stunned if they gave Castle away for almost anything. I will say the thing about last night, and it's hard to totally analyze Wembanyama in this spot because, number one, as you mentioned, he's coming off the injury. He's on a minutes restriction. They played him into a rotation that you would not normally see from him. And he had the death of his family, which he clearly was affecting him. So it's hard to make a level-headed analysis of it. I will say, though, that when your team is in trouble in the fourth quarter in a game with stakes, which is what happened here, he came back in with 5 minutes and change left, and he had, I think the team was down 4 or 5 at that point. And in 3 of the next 4 or 5 possessions, he took what I considered poor long-range shots. I think 2 twos and 1 long, or 2 threes and 1 long 2. And what took Victor to the next level this year was his unwillingness to settle. Obviously, he can put the ball on the floor. Obviously, he can stretch the floor. That's part of his game. But when they need a basket, Victor showed earlier this year that, in his improvement and his improved physique, that he could go inside. And I was disappointed that he didn't, in a game with stakes, do that. And I suspect that he will take what happened in the fourth quarter. He'll take a learning experience from that.
Yeah, after what he did to the Thunder, you're just waiting. You're waiting at that 5-minute mark, because you didn't know if Cat was coming back in, and you're right, they were down 5, and they bring him back in, and we're like, is he gonna solve this? And it did feel.
I thought he would.
Yeah,
I was waiting for it. I was like, when are they going to put him back in? Okay, here he comes, and it didn't happen.
Is the trade market less fun because of the new they're not new financial restrictions, but now that we have like a few cycles of this with the first and second apron, and you look around, it just feels like teams are going, even a guy that we may not have loved in the past and kicked the tires on because we believe in the talent or, whatever. Usually when you're arguing a change of scenery, you're just ignoring the obvious signs here. But it feels like any fan base that has a guy that maybe the franchise is willing to turn the page on, if he's really expensive, be prepared to be stuck with him. That's just kind of the way it feels now.
Yeah, the trend in the league right now is that, depth and flexibility are valued more than sort of star talent. Now, superstar talent, there's always a demand. If you're going to put Luka on the market, like, there will be that's a trade that's going to get done. If Giannis comes to market, and it's still an if, whether it's this season or next summer, a trade will get done. But there's this collection of players out there who are big on salary, and a lot of them have some red mark on their CV, whether it's an injury history or, maybe their age, or they want a new contract. Like, these are guys that you would have no problem trading 2-3 years ago, that because of the reality of the aprons and because of the way teams are prioritizing depth and team building in the apron era, where it's just harder to trade them. It's going to be harder to trade them. And, nowadays, like it used to be, when you tried to do a mid-season trade, like, oh my gosh, can we get the salaries to match? That was a whole thing that fans learned. I watched it happen over the course of 20 years. The trade machine, fans learned how to use the trade machine and learned how you have to have some level of matching salaries. And I watched fans really get a lot smarter. And it's one of the things that fans love to do. Fans love to, with their friends or on social media, they like They like the challenge of going into the trade machine and finding a trade that not only was legal, but that might actually be possible. And now you got to have Bobby Marks in your phone because
the trade machine isn't fun anymore because you can post something that says it works. And then, within 5 minutes, the guys that are really on the cap every day are going to be like, actually, with the first apron or whatever. And you're like, yeah, but it says green.
I know. It's exactly right. So is it less fun? Hell yes, it's a lot less fun. It's a lot less fun. And, I talk to people. I'm from Cleveland. I talk to people in Cleveland every day. And there's people who are so frustrated with the Cavs' performance and they're like pitching me all these trades. And I'm like, I know that this is so boring and you're going to hate me say this. Second apron. And it's terrible terminology and it's frustrating, but that's the reality of where we are.
You mentioned, the Giannis timeline, and look, I doubt you've listened to my full perspective on this, going back to the summer. But I remember at the combine, like how specific all the conversations were. And when you hear like specific stuff, you're like, okay, so this is happening. They're 4-1, 4-2. They get off to this little start. And it's like, well, what if they? And you're like, are you watching this team? And I remember watching that Wizards game late. Giannis is like 35 feet away from the hoop. And he's got to figure out a way to go through 5 guys. He scores. He gets the end one. He puts his head down. And it just felt like in that moment where he's looking around going like, am I going to have to do this the rest of the year? I've heard a lot of people say, hey, it makes way more sense. Everybody's more settled. They're a little bit more proactive. They can plan this out. It makes sense in the summer. You get closer to the draft. Maybe the value of a pick, all these different things. All of those things are entirely fair. Maybe it's too much work and maybe you have more of a market. Because if you're a horse, you have to figure out how to get a market here. But if Giannis is saying, I only want to go here, or if San Antonio goes, we're not trading any of our good guys. And we kind of like this. Just like OKC, to your point. Like, we might just kind of stick with our guys instead of just disrupting the whole thing. And then, with Giannis's injury history, that's another part of it too. I think there is a counter to that, though, where if you were proactive about it and you're not that concerned about the injury this year, you're getting 2 playoff runs out of him.
Right.
And if you're a team that feels like you're in that beefy second tier of maybe both conferences here, outside of OKC, outside of Denver, we'll get to LA, whatever you think of the East at this point. I understand the arguments for the summer, but I feel like the arguments before the deadline are being dismissed.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all depends on, well, you just said it. What deal can you get? I think the Bucks, 2 things I always point out about the Bucks. One, they've been, I don't think they're a championship contender right now. I don't mean to be insulting, but I don't think they're a championship contender right now.
This will probably be the breakout video.
Right, exactly. But they were for like 7 or 8 years. And, they did win one, which is one of the reasons why I talk about no one should ever devalue a championship. I do not believe an asterisk more than one. I don't know what you say. I do not believe putting an asterisk on a title because I've been around too long and I know how hard they are to win. And they put themselves in position for at least 4 or 5 years where they were, a leading candidate, a leading contender to win. And the league is not set up to do that. You're not supposed to be able to contend for 7, 8 straight 8 years. The systems and the realities of the modern league, especially when they were in that run from 2018 to 2024, that's your life cycle. That's it. And they had terrible fortune with Giannis getting hurt in the playoffs, Chris Middleton getting hurt in the playoffs. I mean, that year, that one, I covered that 7-game series with the Celtics in 22. If Chris Middleton isn't hurt, I think the Bucks win the series. And, I don't know what would happen against the Warriors. Maybe the Bucks get that done. But Middleton gets hurt 1 year. Giannis gets hurt 1 year in the playoffs. And Dame gets hurt 1 year in the playoffs. They had 3 years that were totally kneecapped by misfortune in timing of injuries. And so what I'm saying here is that it's not like there was a failure. They built great teams year after year after year. And 1 year they broke through and got it done. And a couple of years, things didn't go their way. They are now at the end of the life cycle. And they've been at the end of the life cycle for a couple of years now. And they've done everything in their power to extend it, which is what the Dame trade was. That was, that was they're trying to extend it. And then they, quadruple down and try the Miles Turner thing. And it sounds like they're thinking about trying something again, which is they have one pick left out there that they could trade. And in theory, they could combine a couple of their contracts that they've got. They've got a couple of contracts they could put out there, and they could quintuple down on it. But their life cycle as a champion is probably over, not because of incompetence or because they're fools, but because that's just the way it is. And it just so happened that they have a player who is outlived their life cycle. Okay. So that's one thing. The second thing is, and they're raging against the dying of the light on that. Okay. The second thing is that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar asked for a trade in 1972. I think it was 72.
That sounds right.
71, I think maybe. Anyway, when they traded Kareem, they did not get back to the finals for 40 years. 40. Okay. And so when you have a generational player, a multi-generational player in a market like Milwaukee, I can understand saying, my God, you exhaust, and I mean in every stretch of the word, exhaust and squeeze out every season and squeeze out every month, because when that player goes away, it might be 40 years before you're back. So I have nothing to say about the Bucks organization, about them trying to make this work. I totally get it. That said, if you're looking at it fairly, they're just not there. And so, but they know that it puts them in a bad position, both public relations wise and in trade wise, if they're the ones to wave the flag first. So that's the sort of stare down that they're at, while they try to find the Hail Mary. And Hail Marys have worked. It's happened, but they're trying to find the lightning in a bottle. And I respect the process they're going through to try to find it.
Are you a Lakers record talent? Let LeBron ease into this thing, the Ayton thing, especially knowing he's going to be playing with Luka, and based on cost and need, it's been a home run for him, so much better than the rotational center options. Are you that guy? Or are you like, hey, what's going on with that number? What's up with that net rating?
Yeah.
What's happening over there? Like, they may need to add to this. Which camp are you in with the Lakers?
Yeah. So the strange thing about not strange, but the reality about the Lakers is I have no idea who's going to be on this roster in 2 years. Other than Luka. Luka will be there. Even Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves probably is going to be there. They're probably offering him a max at the end of the year, and he's probably signing it. But he's an unrestricted free agent. And there will be teams out there who will offer him a great opportunity. I don't think it's necessarily a better opportunity than being a star player in Los Angeles. But I don't know who's going to be on this team. So their future is built around, they are under the mandate to build around Luka. So, and I don't know if these players, any of them, are going to be there for a couple of years. So I do recognize that they might be slightly overachieving, but also they had injuries, the Luka injury, the LeBron injury. And the fact that they've come through those injuries with such a great record, and that they've been so good in clutch games, has given them flexibility to try to do something this year. They have expiring contracts and they have draft assets. They've already shown a willingness to move those draft assets because they made the Mark Williams trade. If they didn't have a willingness move the draft assets, they wouldn't have done that trade, even though they've rescinded it. But whatever they do, they have to be thinking about 2 years from now. If they're going to do a trade for a player and they're going to use draft capital, it's got to be a player who fits next to Luka for the long haul. At the end of the trade, we've got to say, okay, Luka's going to be a Laker in 2 years, and this guy or these guys are going to be Lakers in 2 years. So that's the needle they got to thread. And they got to do that in the apron era, and they've got they're hard capped because they use their exceptions to build out their team. I think that they're performing really well. They're doing great. I am pleased and relieved that LeBron is rounding more into form. His first few games coming out of that sciatica, it's not a surprise, but he looked his age. And I was definitely willing to give him the time and the grace, but it was a little bit jarring to see how much older he looked year over year. So I like all of those things. I think all of those things are looking good. But if they do a trade, which I would get, it can't be to try to maximize this season, unless it's literally for nothing, unless you're paying nothing. If you're gonna dip into those assets, it's got to be Luka based medium term.
Do you think LeBron's a full mid-level next summer?
So let me ask you, in LA or somewhere else?
I was just thinking about, because I was watching the Mark Williams Ayton tension game, by the way. That was that was fun to see those guys going at it.
Well,
it was like,
the
this
Lakers
time it's
and
personal.
Spurs, the Lakers and Suns have turned into a nice little thing.
That was a wild game, and the Lakers held on and pulled that one out. But I was watching LeBron, and I was looking at some of the lineup stuff, and there's not a ton, but it's like the most played lineup with Smart has a great net rating, and then the second most played lineup with LeBron in for Smart. The other four guys are the same. The net rating is atrocious. Now, there's been some stuff numbers wise there that would tell you, like, have you looked at like the long term on off stuff here with LeBron? And I did start thinking about it. Look, offensively, when you know where you're going as an athlete, you're going to look a lot more athletic than when you don't know where you're going. When you just, like, whenever he takes off, like, this is the thing with LeBron sometimes I think is silly, is like he'll take off and dunk from like 10 feet out. And it's like, well, he's still 6'8". He's 40. He's not 80.
Right.
Like, he should be able to do this. But then when you've got to recover, you've got to react, that's where the age starts showing up on that kind of stuff. And yeah, I know you're pivoting the question back to me. I'm not stalling because I don't have an answer other than that's going to be one of the most interesting things where, go back to even this summer. I was like, what are they mad about? He picked up the option for $50+ million. And Rich Paul even comes out. It's like, he's not getting traded. Like, who'd he possibly get traded for? So there was like a bunch of energy wasted on all that kind of stuff. I don't, he might just want to stay in LA, but God, it's going to be really interesting no matter what, because I don't think there's any indication that he doesn't want to play. And I would still think that he would probably retire in a way where we would know. I don't think he would just surprise everybody.
I agree. I think he was really good last year.
Yeah.
He had a really good year last year. And I think, he went into this summer and he had 2 injuries, which people think about the sciatica, but he sprained his knee, which derailed his typical summer. So he was dealing with 2 injuries. And he's still recovering from those injuries. When you're 40, about to be 41 in like 2 weeks, you don't just bounce back. So he's recovering from those injuries still. So assuming that recovery continues to progress and he doesn't have another one, which he very may well, I do think, in his brain, like, he understands he's going year to year, but he probably didn't think, when he was starting the playoff run last year, when they had, won the number 3 seed and he had Luka and they were looking great, he probably thought, I might be able to do this for a little while longer. And so I think that's probably still there, and he'll have to see where he feels. There's only a certain amount of places he can play, right? He's, for 100 different reasons, he's going to be limited. The other thing is, in 2025, about to be 2026, you can't have a team where you've got 3 gigantic salaries where those 3 guys aren't like studs. This is where you get into problems. So it's not realistic for a 41-year-old, even if he's the greatest 41-year-old athlete the world has ever seen, to make the salary that he's making, which the Lakers knew, which is why there was there was a couple of reasons why there wasn't a contract extension, but the Lakers knew that with where the league is right now, you can't have a 42-year-old on a $60 million deal. You just can't. And so the question is going to be, how does his body feel? Monetarily, what's he willing to do? Because if he's willing to play for the mid-level, is he willing to play for the minimum? And for the last 15 years, LeBron's been very attuned to maximizing his salary because he felt he was underpaid. And he felt he was underpaid for the first few, the middle part of his career there. And he was like, I'm going to make sure I get taken care of. And I don't blame him, because it's, even now at $50 million, what his value to the Lakers is probably not accurate.
I just
So-
want to emphasize the point on the salary, though, too, historically, because I remember one time having a conversation with somebody, plugged in and was like, do you know LeBron's never been the highest paid player in the NBA? And I was like, yeah, but it's like, he's like 2 off and he's like right there. And it was like, he's never been the highest. And it was like this point of pride. It was like contentious almost. So I'm just backing up everything. Not that anybody be questioning
he was
any
in
of your,
his 12th season before he was the highest paid player on his team.
Yeah.
There were times when he was tied for the highest paid salary, to be clear.
Didn't matter.
It was his 12th season. And that was one of the things, in 2014, when he was making the decision to come to Cleveland, with one of the only messages that Rich Paul was willing to say to teams was, LeBron will be making the max. Because there was this belief. You remember at that time, Carmelo took like less than the max. And I think it was actually it was that year or the year before, but Phil Jackson talked Carmelo into taking less than the max. And, LeBron and Wade and Bosh had taken a slight haircut, less than the max. And LeBron wanted to set the tone that I'm done taking less than the max. And that has really carried the day for the last, decade plus. I assume he would soften on that. And how far he's willing to soften on that is unknown, just as much as his, but I can remember him and in fact, part of the reason that the move to Cleveland was delayed slightly is that the Cavs didn't have enough cap space. They had to make a trade. And in fact, I've written about this. I don't know if the Cavs were like hoping that he would take less than the max, but like they hadn't cleared the cap space. And LeBron's agents, Mark Termini was also his agent at the time, and he was calling the Cavs. He was calling David Griffin. Do you have the max slot? No, we're still working on it. Click. 6 hours later, do you have the max slot? Well, we're still working on. Click. Let us know when you have the max spot. And they made this like 3-team trade to offload salary, cost them a first-round pick, whatever. But yeah, so the max has been very important to LeBron. And so obviously that's going to have to be compromised if he wants. I think obviously if he wants to be a Laker, because I don't think the Lakers can do that anymore.
I would say he fits the Clippers timeline going into next year, but with Chris Paul not being on the team, now I don't know if it's the match timeline wise.
Yeah, if the Clippers remain committed to 27, the cap space in 27. But I got to tell you, that's what I'm saying. Like, what are his real options? Like, I can't see LeBron being a Clipper. I just can't see it. I mean,
I don't think you can do it in this town. I just don't.
I can see LeBron as a Cav or as a Laker. I suppose I could see him maybe one or two other places. Like I could construct, something. I could see that. I mean, but he doesn't have anything to prove. He doesn't need anything. So,
he just might want to still keep playing. Like if the Knicks were really good,
and I think he can keep playing with the Lakers. He's just not going to do it at $50 million. Like I think that's like there's a lot of things going. I understand what you're saying about the lineup data. That the lineup data shows that LeBron, Reeves, and Luka together to this point has not been productive. And so that makes you wonder, like, if you're committed to Luka, which you are, and you're going to commit yourself to Reeves, can you, like, it's a reasonable conversation. I just don't think it's a conversation for December. I think it's a conversation for June, July.
Yeah, look, I'm fully willing to, like, I'm presenting it not in a definitive way of like, hey, this doesn't work, but there's two conversations. It's the 25 numbers, which are limited, him coming off this injury, and then there's a longer runway of some of this stuff as well. I throw out the Knicks. It would just be funny if he's like, hey, that team's really good. They're this close. Like I go, and then Knicks fans are going, Knicks fans are going 16 years later. Like we thought we were getting you 16 years ago. I have two quick things here. With this Thunder pace, and granted, San Antonio's win against them this weekend, terrific. This Thunder pace, are you preparing yourself? Are you putting together the spreadsheets on? Because I don't know what you would do. I think it's tougher to compare them to the 16 Warriors that nobody wants to. It's like the Pats. You're not allowed to give them credit when you have that kind of regular season and then you lose in the championship.
That's right. I know it's an awkward discussion.
Yeah, I would like to put together like greatest teams of all time list and then just put up a team that lost in the NBA Finals. No one would love doing that more than me. OKC in the conversation against those Warriors teams, because it was funny. Like I was running some numbers on the offensive rating, which we realized that rising tides raise all boats. We've been having this. People have been falling for this every single year. It's like, well, do you realize this is the greatest offense in history? I'm like, do you realize it's happened like 5 straight years? Whoever was the best offense. I think there was a Nets conversation. There was even a Mavs conversation one year. Be like, this is the greatest offense the league has ever seen. You're like, yeah, maybe. Calm down on that. So. OKC's offense, which was not the strength last year of this team, it's not the strength. I mean, it's good, but the defensive numbers so far this year are ridiculous. Like I was looking at them again this morning. It's even more absurd than it was last year. Where do you think the 17 Warriors would rank offensively in today's league? So their offensive numbers per 100 possessions, I'm going to say the 17 team is the best of the 16, 17, and 18, the first year with Durant. Where do you think that would rank in the league today? 14th.
Oh, I thought you meant like where would they if they played today? I thought you mean the actual statistical ranking?
Yeah,
yes.
the actual statistical ranking.
The point that you're making. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you're saying that the best team, arguably one of the best teams we ever saw. I think
the greatest team I've ever seen, and I would argue against the Bulls teams. I would argue against the '86 Celtics. We could do whatever we want with the '60 Celtics. Yeah. Just
as a quick sideline, I would entertain that. Do they win the championship if Durant doesn't come?
So you're saying they're bringing everybody back from the 16 team?
Yeah, because I just want to say that the 16-17 Cavs were the best Cavs team LeBron ever had, and the 12-13 Heat when Birdman Anderson was sort of activated and they had added Ray Allen and Shane Battier and They sort of had a 9-man rotation, and that was a team that won the 27 in a row or whatever. That's the best team he was ever on. I say that the second best team LeBron was ever on was the 16-17 Cavs. So I ask you, do the Warriors win the 17 championship if Durant doesn't come?
After they had just lost to him and blowing the 3-1 lead? I'm a big guy in like motivation. I think the Spurs won the title after because they were mad the entire year about the Ray Allen shot. So I think if they win in 13, they don't win the next year. And you can't just take Durant and then it's like, well, I still have Harrison Barnes. And maybe I figure out the center situation here a little bit better because, the other story from that game 7 and 16 is that all of a sudden, like no center, like Festus Ezeli's out there missing layups.
Right. This is, again, you're hitting me at what I've literally written books about this. So like, when people talk about like, oh man, the league gave the Cavs the championship.
No, I'm not.
Let me check my notes here. Draymond Green, are you aware, Ryan, that Draymond Green played in Game 6 and Game 7? I'm not sure you're aware of that. No, the Bogut injury was much more relevant to the turning of the series than the Draymond suspension.
Yeah, and the other thing too,
2.5 games.
I hate the gifting of because it was Draymond's mistake, but it was also, it's so discrediting of what LeBron and Kyrie, what those two guys did that many games in a row, like all-time stuff, all happening at the exact same time, and it still comes down to a shot. So let me just give you the answer instead of repeating back the thing that you have a doctorate in. I think the Warriors would end up winning just because they were close enough that they'd be motivated. You seem to think that it's back-to-back because of the improvement from 16 to 17.
So I think it's probably or a maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, can we generally agree on that?
You know who you're talking to, of course.
Okay.
I mean, I have a harder time being definitive about any of this stuff the older I get.
Right. So, of course, that's like one of the... Sam Presti has like 5 of the greatest quotes of the last decade, and
love to be part of one someday.
When he was talking about, that letter of his that got published in the Boston Globe when he was like 16 years old or 12 years old or whatever, and he wrote that they should.
I thought he was 26 when that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and he wanted them to draft Jason Kidd, basically was the point. Yeah. And he got asked about it when it became the light. And he goes, I had 100% certainty with a fraction of the information. And now I have all the information and I have a fraction of the certainty. And so I think that's what you're referring to is when you see some things, you get less absolute. So yes, I would agree. I think probably / maybe, but my point on this is that when people crack Durant for going to that team, and that act in and of itself is a whole nother conversation that's billions of words have been used on and will be used on. But my point is that Cavs team was awesome. They went 12-1 in the Eastern Conference playoffs that year. And I know it's a commentary on what the East was then, but they went 12-1 in the Eastern Conference playoffs that year. Okay. Durant was the difference maker. Durant did not however you want to say it. He was, in the back of the bus or ring chasing or whatever. It's like ignoring the fact that Bogut was hurt, that their super important defensive center was hurt. It's willfully ignorant, and cracking Durant in 17, coming there in 16, 17, and just saying that he was just there to go along with it is ridiculous. I just think because it disregards how good the Cavs were. The Cavs were a significantly better team in 16, 17 than they were in 15, 16.
I could do that all day.
I know.
All right, so I'll make this last one quick, but I want the seed planted. I want to hear you and Bontemps arguing about it at some point. Maybe it's a January episode. We stumbled on this one because you're talking about like how many rosters would you trade for Wemby, and then we realized it was more of like who wouldn't do it. And then we tweaked it. Cerruti, I'll give him credit on this one. It started turning into like who's the worst player, which means it's still a good player, but like who's the worst player where you would still trade the entire Nets roster for? And then I started kicking around with guys in the league, and I was just it was hilarious because we were trying to figure out like where is that line? Like, so I'll leave you with a sampling of it. Would you trade the entire Nets? It's not the draft pick rights. Forget about contract. Well, I guess you could factor in like contracts, especially if you're talking about like Philadelphia, but would you trade the entire Nets roster for Con Knipple right now?
So the thing about this is, the Nets fans are very protective of their 5 first-round draft picks and are believing that these guys are going to develop into like real players.
I love the Danny Wolf stuff so far. By the way.
Well, he's doing pretty good. There is, put it this way, there is no package. The whole roster is not a real conversation. There is no package of players that the Nets would not trade for Con Knipple.
So you're saying it wouldn't work on the trade machine?
That's right. It wouldn't work on the trade machine. There would be a roster spot issue. Yes. And that's really the thing. I say this a lot, like not a lot, but I talk to people about this. If you went and got like the number one consultant in the business world, whether, I don't know who that would be, like McKinsey's number one guy, Ernst & Young's or woman, their number one person.
Well done.
And they knew nothing about the NBA. And they said, okay, we need the best the business consultants in the world. I want the people who've turned things around. I want the best. Analyze the NBA. Give me what you would do for your team. They would tell them to do what the Wizards and the Nets are doing. They would say, do that.
Yeah.
Okay. What the process was. It's not controversial if you look at it on paper, but you have to get the players. And so the difference between the Spurs rebuild and the Wizards rebuild is where the lottery's gone.
Yeah, that's it. Like when I watched Cooper the other night, when I watched Cooper Flagg going up against the Jazz the other night in that awesome game, it was just a fun game. I don't know that it was beautifully played.
How many baskets did he make with his left hand? My God, he's got for an 18-year-old, he's got one of the best offhands I've ever seen for a teenager.
That is not hyperbole. I could not believe and then it was almost like Utah's like, what the hell's going on here? Like he wants to go to that way. Like, so, but to your point, like I was even thinking about it with Wemby the other night. I was like, you sit there and if you were interviewing for a job, you're like, I want to emulate the Spurs culture, like Spurs culture. Is it like, or is it David Robinson into Duncan into Wembanyama? Or is it just that?
Well, you can do it both ways. But I know,
Yeah, right.
which
You can
way-
have a culture
yeah,
that supports all these things, but go ahead.
you can do it both ways. But I'm just saying, like, the Nets would have been in a better spot if they had the 4th pick.
Right. And Utah would feel much better if Cooper Flagg were running around.
Yeah. I mean, the Jazz love Ace Bailey. They will talk about Ace Bailey to you for long periods. They are convinced that they've got a special guy. But Ace Bailey didn't score 42 points with 10 baskets with his left hand as an 18-year-old.
He was fouled 15 times in that game. Do you know that?
Do you know that he created like 21 of the points he created like on his own, like just straight isolations? Like he just, he may not be a point guard, but here's the other thing. How many 18-year-olds have you seen? And there hasn't been 18-year-olds in a while, I realize, but let's just say teenagers. How many teenagers have you seen that are physically able to compete with like 95% of the league? You don't.
I'm not comparing him to LeBron, but like that was the most remarkable thing about LeBron is that immediately,
Ryan, I see indicators all over the place, and the comparisons and the similarities between Cooper's rookie year, how his rookie year is playing out, and how LeBron's rookie year play out. I can't unsee it. Like every day, I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what happened to LeBron. This is what happened to LeBron. Like it's remarkable.
make sure you check out the Hoop Collective, part of Omaha now, over at ESPN. You'll see Windhorst throughout the season and on Countdown, keeping them honest on the desk, which I always appreciate. And I can't wait to have you on again. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day.
It's official. The Big Shack is out now. Let's run through it. We're talking 2 Angus beef patties, 3 buns, new secret sauce. It's stacked, balanced, and built the right way. You get everything you expect from Shake Shack, fresh ingredients, that toasted potato bun, and sauce that pulls the whole thing together. For $9.99, it's kind of wild how much burger you're getting, especially one that doesn't taste like typical fast food. It's big, it's fresh, and it's legit one of their best burgers yet. You know, it's funny. I've read this ad a few times, and it's dawned on me. It's stacked, balanced, and built the right way. That's how I'd like government to run. This whole time, Twain's line, there's no good government, right? Well, why is that? Are we focusing on the wrong things? Because if I were to put together a society and said, hey, let's make this just like the Big Shack, stacked, balanced, and built the right way, is there any better foundation for an emerging market than that? I think we just solved a lot of stuff right there. Because when I look at the burger, next time I'm going to look at it and be like, you know, this is, I think, what the founding fathers are thinking about. This burger right here. I mean, sure, there's other stuff that you had to do, but if you wanted any sort of expression of freedom, if you wanted to make sure that you stood out, and like we have real resources here, I think the American flag, if it were a burger, it wouldn't be the worst idea. If you've been waiting to see what all the hype's about, today's the day. Go to Shake Shack and order the Big Shack. Sounds familiar, made different.
You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari, 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Life Advice. The email address is lifeadvicerr@gmail.com. So Rudy and Kyle are here. Huge announcement that we teased earlier in this week on the show. But the Ryen Russillo show, along with Part of My Take and Spit and Chicklets, are all going to be now on Netflix. So you can watch all of us right after you get done with any documentary. If you haven't caught up on Ozarks, locked in. So what you see here in the video format, you're going to now see on Netflix. There was talk about a studio for me, and honestly, everybody was kind of like, if you're fine doing your thing, we like the backdrop. And I was like, I'm definitely fine just going into my kitchen and prep in the morning, then coming over here and doing it from the office. So it's not going to be any fancier. It's just awesome to be on an incredible streaming provider and have this kind of partnership. And Dave just making it pretty simple and hit me up and be like, hey, is this something you want to do? So we've been talking about it for a little bit, not a lot of conversation. And look, this is where all this stuff is going. And I'm just really, really excited to be a part of it. So get out. I probably will hire on-site makeup though, because I do miss that from the ESPN radio days, like going in and getting,
the 4K, the 1080p is could be harsh. Not on just
it's so
you,
close.
Yeah,
it's so close. Yeah.
I'm going to have to answer more questions. I've been sort of operating in secret. Like my family was like, what do you do again? Like most of the people outside. I'm
a Netflix bitch.
Yeah. And now I think I'm going to have to answer more questions. My grandma started poking around. She's like, I've been watching you on the YouTube. And I got to say,
not anymore.
I think I might have to clean it up a little bit. I don't want to change the tone of life advice, but I think
I'll tell you right now, whatever this stage setting is, can we stay with this one?
You liking this? You liking the peak? I was thinking about getting maybe a little background
the 80s
behind me.
Den. Yeah, I like
a lot of wood panels. This is a sheet and some wire
just love
racks over here.
stuff.
You got the Viva sticker in
a
the
lot
background.
of stuff. I do. Oh, you picked that out.
Yeah, I see. I got good eyes.
This was the first day, and I don't know. There's a lot to be done, but I feel like I look whiter than usual. But
we're also going to be the Super Bowl for the entire week. I thought I was done. I thought it was like New Orleans Lake. That's the last one. It's over for me. And now, since we're doing a new show, and basically, I just want Kyle to be at one of the parties. So I felt like I owed it to the staff.
This can be great.
Yeah. So fired up. This is awesome, man. It's awesome news. Trying to just keep growing the show. And again, a partnership here that is off to a great start.
What do you think is going to be? I wonder just like if they'll suggest things, after you finish watching our show. It's like, hey, also watch this. Is it going to be, is Alone on Netflix? I feel like that's probably one that would work well. I'm trying to think of what else would that
might have been maybe the meanest thing Cerruti's ever said to me.
Yeah, that thing stocked. He was ready to go with that one.
I'm just trying to see. I don't know if it's on
Something
there yet.
lighthearted,
get it on there.
Arrested Development.
Yeah, going to strike me as a Stranger
Things guy.
If you like
this,
the Trashers documentary,
it's likely just going to go from PMT to like, if you like this, maybe you'll like this. I don't know though. I don't know. Maybe there'll be some therapy show, and then it'll be like, if you like this, and then it's like, boom, right into life advice. Wouldn't it be funny if Netflix edited the videos where Netflix just has life advice first, and then they put my monologues at the end?
We don't need this. Yeah,
it's like, I've got incredible data collection and based on retention rates.
What happened 7 years ago? Got it, dude. What did you sort of notice the other day that you're going to track and get back to us on? Okay. All right. So you know what I do want to do though? Kind of a group project. I don't know what it is, but I'd like to get a show going where we all start a show at the same time. And maybe it's like recap Thursdays or whatever. Like we don't need an entire new arm of the show here, but I would like to all of us be on the same page. We could go book.
I would do a book.
I just got my Pleasant Valley Library card. I'm ready to go.
Hell yeah. I mean, we talked about the Russillo book club, like for real. And maybe, obviously listeners could read along. We'll do 3 chapters at a time. That could be cool.
Yeah. I've just finished a few books here that I wanted to have the authors. I don't know what's going on. We got Gunfighters in the Holster. That one's done. Gunfighters was incredible. Awesome gift for your dad if he likes the old shoot 'em ups. 1929, Sorkin. I don't know why we haven't gotten him on yet. Just finished that one. And now I'm on the Edmund Fitzgerald. So I think we'll be able to get John Bacon on.
Did the Edmund Fitzgerald content take over your Instagram feeds too?
What's that?
That's like the Edmund Fitzgerald content. I got that for like a month straight. I know it's like a 50-year anniversary. Well, yeah, but just like the ship and the song. And I was like, what's going on here? And then I kind of just, I was like, I was really into it.
The amount that I tried that song in Frolic Room, I might have to read the book just to get a better understanding. I mean, it was like one of my signatures.
Yeah, I'll tell you, as a salty, us ocean guys, we look down on the lake guys, but you get through 20 pages of this Great Lake stuff, and you just start going.
I was going to say, some would say that lake is more dangerous than oceans. That lake, Fury is wild.
Really?
Well, the lake guys would tell you. This is real. This is SEC Big Ten all over again.
Yeah, here we go.
So I don't know. I don't want to be so impressionable that all of a sudden I read half of a book on the lakes, and it's like, okay, the lakes, but the ships are not designed to take on what would be ocean. Like for the most part, at least with this, I mean, the ship sank 50 years ago, but when you get into the design, he does such a great job of talking about how they were designed and maximizing just basically cargo shipping. So anyway.
I don't think I'd want to do a book club on a book like that. Just the way it sounds interesting to you, but it doesn't sound interesting to me. Can we do a fiction? No, we can't do that, right? You guys don't have time for fiction.
What about if we start reading about samurais, the Book of Five Rings? It's only like 100 plus pages.
Okay, we're talking.
Do that.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Musashi?
Now we're talking.
Because I'm thinking about getting into a phase. I don't know what it is yet.
Well, when Shogun comes back, we could watch Shogun. We all like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what show. I don't know what show we could get on. I don't know if Landman
Beast and
works.
Me. Watch it right now on Netflix.
I vote Shogun.
Great.
We all liked it when it came out. Ryan's got the history bug.
I do that. I haven't started it yet.
A little slow.
Is that why you're smirking? Yeah. I was about to say.
Like it. Well done. Incredible acting. They're taking their time to get into it. We'll see.
What if we
just
zagged and we made Russillo watch like The Samurai Turned Pretty?
I don't know. I'm back on the samurai thing, though. You guys anti the samurai phase?
No, I got
like
2 samurai games going right now. No.
Always what's going on with Russillo? Like, he identifies as annoying right now.
Some katanas. Yeah.
I don't know that I'd ever go full katana purchase. I think I'm too old for that. I think
cool
you have to be within a
piece,
certain window. Like Kyle's a year or two away from having a katana collection, right?
Yeah, once I get this sheet into a wall, maybe I'll do that.
I told you guys about my buddy. He just started a dagger collection after watching Game of Thrones. Just not a knife guy, but
that's the thing when you realize you're an adult and you're just like, oh man, I guess I do have free will. Yeah.
Yeah, that is really the best because it's like, hey, I'm a grown up now. But you're like, are you? Because you just bought a bunch of daggers.
I just think I might get a knife subscription. Just get a new one every 2 months.
I'd sign up for that. Yeah. All right. What else do we got here? We haven't done anything. Yeah.
No, but I got another quick aside because we got to talk about this. You saw the Josh Hart thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I told you it happens more than you think.
So for those that didn't see it after the NBA Cup win by your New York Knicks, the celebration based on an email that we just had about photos with a family member where the guy would basically give his brother that inspection.
Is there a slang for that?
After 40.
Is there like a word that's not gross for that? But probably not.
Yeah, so Josh Hart did it to Brunson, and then it was on camera. And then Brunson turns around like, whoa, dude, what are you doing? And then Hart has been tweeting about it. He's got a couple tweets. Caught in 4K.
Claiming AI.
And he wasn't even healthy last night. He pulled that off.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think to my point, I was right that a swinging around and hitting him in the nuts would have been an overreaction in everyone's eyes. I mean, I know they're holding the trophy, but I think the first thing you think that it made me think was like, yeah, see, wasn't as big a deal as hitting somebody in the nuts, I think.
But I think there's a difference though.
You have the teammate bonds.
The locker room thing, because like, these guys change together. They, weird shit happens, dude. It's just dudes being weird. Like that happens sometimes. Not saying that that's what I would do, but it's a totally different thing to do it in a family photo.
I'm not sure it is.
I think it.
Blood's thicker than water, dude. I don't know.
I don't know. And it happens in sports a lot. Like I said, I told you it happens a lot in soccer, but this was the NBA. So
Yeah, that's a sign of dudes having a good time.
Yeah, but there's an age where I don't want anyone.
I take that back.
What age is that? Yeah.
Phrasing. We still doing phrasing? All right. This is almost a Friday feedback. We'll save it because we did a lot. We did a lot of extra stuff here.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's a real humdinger. What movie? All right. 5'9", 160. Not many gym stats. Do a lot of Peloton. Play a lot of golf. Try to keep the dad bod from getting out of hand. I live in Ryan's favorite city of Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Twos, broski.
That's
Would
annoying.
never tell people I am from here for obvious reasons. I'm from Calgary. College roommate calling me on FaceTime in the middle of a nationally broadcast podcast. Thank you. They found a picture of me from college that everybody's very excited
We've been
about.
sending some college photos. That's been fun.
Yeah.
Although I got to say, Ryan looks
totally
like
tame.
by far and away the coolest, most put together out of the ones we've been sending. But that wasn't a freshman photo you sent, right, Ryan?
No, I'm senior year in that
Yeah,
one.
okay.
I'm just the world.
Cerruti's
is-
clearly a freshman. I mean, Cerruti might be on a visit. He looks so little, and he might be on a
I was
senior-
17, dude. All right.
Cerruti's like that. Actually, that was my first year on Mike and Mike.
I
We
was
used to
wearing
call
a
him Twilight.
a
What's up with
t-shirt
this
that's
kid?
not in rotation anymore. It's funny. I showed Maddie some of the pictures since you saw what we said back to each other, and I sent the picture of myself, and Kyle's response was, "Now that looks like a guy who's going to chirp you." And she was like, "Kyle has never been more correct in his life."
You had like
Yeah,
the
you
West
almost
Coast thing going on.
I know it's the Italian thing, but like you probably could have passed for Hispanic,
Yeah, I'm just
right?
like, you know,
I don't. Is that
Southern Greek.
Right?
Yeah.
yeah, vaguely Mediterranean, a little
There's
Spanish.
something
I don't
going
know.
on in
Yeah.
there. I was like, if that guy came in, it was like, oh my god, fucking. Like,
Well, I was
it's-
way more
visit
tan back then. I
family
used to
in
be able to like,
Mexico City.
actually like, yeah. Now I'm just, you know, who knows? Speaking of Mike and Mike, I became vitamin D deficient and never been the same. So now I'm pale as hell.
When you wear a
That's-
sweater like
that's a
that,
true
though,
story.
it really offsets. Which is
Wait,
nice.
Say,
You like that?
say that again.
Yeah, no, it's a true story. When I started working on Mike and Mike, I literally started I took like vitamin D supplements because I never saw the sun, especially in the winter, dude. I would be, because I'd sleep all day. I like to watch games at night. It was a disaster. And I've never been the same.
Like, so your deal is up. We want to talk to you about your raise here at ESPN, and you know, how do you think this last year went? Well, I'm dying. I'm actually dying, and I'm not even 30.
Yep.
Like, all right, we'll keep you through football.
Okay.
He was so pale.
Yeah.
That's why we started, because of the Twilight movies. We were like,
Right.
what's up with Twilight?
Cowherd, yeah. Cowherd started that, and then Gottlieb took credit for it.
What?
That's what happened.
But you were so pale, but you were also good looking.
Thank you.
Still
So
are.
that's
I'm
where
not sure.
Twilight. It's a double entendre. Then,
It
'cause those
was
guys
both.
were hot.
It was
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's pale as shit, but he might be a vampire because he's also good looking. And Twilight was huge, like
Right.
young adult fiction.
Listen, if you want to compare me to Robert Pattinson, I'm
Couldn't
not
keep
going
it
to
on
tell
the
you that
shelves.
you're wrong.
Yeah,
But-
right. All right, so back to Toronto.
Yeah. What happened?
It's a Mazda email, but would never tell people I am from here for
Is that
obvious
more
reasons.
slang? You keep getting it.
I'm
in there.
from Calgary. Shout out Banff and Ryan's Banff trip. God, I love Banff.
Yeah.
I think I want to go back. I want to go in the off season. I have a holiday dilemma that I would appreciate the team's input on. There's an awesome pull ticket dive bar, all cash. Kyle, it was made for you. They should change the name of it to Kyle's. Anyway, we're spending some of the holidays this year with my wife's family in Quebec, December 29th, January 4th. My wife and I have a 1-year-old. She has 4 siblings and 2 step siblings, plus kids who I mostly get on with. No need to go into further detail. My real dilemma is that I'm a massive Denver Nuggets fan and have been since childhood. I am lucky to now live in an NBA city, and as a Western Conference team, there's only a chance of them being here once a year. You guys putting it together. This year, the game falls on New Year's Eve. The question is, do I leave the family, more specifically my wife and child, to fly back to Toronto on New Year's Eve for a one-night game?
No.
Jokic is obviously in his prime, and I feel like I have to take advantage of every opportunity that exists to witness this while it lasts. Thanks for reading. Boys?
I think we should start with Ryan because I think I know what you would do. Especially when we're talking Jokic. I think like
Jokic?
this breaks all your rules, right? You would be like, I don't know.
Even I wouldn't. This is dumber than the guy trying to live with his buddies.
Yeah. I thought he was going to
Is
say
it?
like, can I like sneak off and watch it? I'm like, I'm planning on doing that this weekend
Yeah.
with the Johnnies. But like, should I fly back?
Big Johnny's game.
Big one.
I don't even know how you would begin to address this. Like, he's emailing this like he has a chance. What wife with a 1-year-old and all of the family? I mean, maybe she's out there and she's just like
All the
totally gets
babysitters,
it.
sounds like.
Yeah.
Flying with a baby alone too, like that's
He's
I
not
wouldn't do it.
flying. Wait, so he would be waiting in Toronto, or does he go back to Quebec?
I figured
said
she'd
fly
be flying
back.
back alone with the kid, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
he's
he'd have to
fine.
at least come back and help her
Oh, so
travel
that's
back.
yes. Then that's added expense.
But it sounds like
I
it's
mean-
that important. I mean, he wrote this whole email.
He says for the one night, fly to Toronto for New Year's Eve for the one night game, and that the stay is the way I interpreted his date, his range here was that he would then go back to Quebec.
That's insane.
And then
Dude, she's got no New Year's Eve kiss too.
Jokic.
While you're, come on.
Is he not going to be good next year? I feel like we think he's going to be fine next year. Just wait a year. He's not going to. It'll probably be all right.
Has he played in Detroit yet?
Yeah.
Oh, is that right across the bridge there?
Well,
Probably
if you've been
not.
reading anything about the Edmund Fitzgeralds, you realize a lot of these places are a lot closer than you would think.
Here's the thing,
Coast
too.
elites. Yeah.
Yes. If you're willing to fly back to Toronto and then back to Quebec, just fly. Go
Fly
see
to
Jokic
another
in New
city
York
when he's
City.
somewhere else.
Yeah, go see him at the
Yeah,
Garden.
that's- Right. Yeah. Pick out some. Go to Chicago. I don't even know. I feel like that swing has not happened. So
Does he not want to come into the U.S.? Is that his deal? Is that the thing? Because either way,
oof.
Right?
Political talk, right?
Tariffs.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
It sounds like it wasn't an option.
Wouldn't
for
have
him.
brought it up because
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
All right. Fair point. Yeah, I think that one's
Don't
tough,
go.
man.
No, I think you should have a nice New Year's with your brand new family, and and you're going to be all around her people. Like Cerruti sort of said this with the guy who was planning on taking a break from his life for a year. Is just like everyone else it's almost disrespectful. All of her family, all of her siblings, and whatever there, and be like, wait, he just left you? Like what the hell?
That's not a good look for you.
Yeah, New Year's Eve is one of those you want to have your partner with you, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of great thing about having a wife or a girlfriend is that, there's an age where you don't want any hangups. And then there's the, like a lot of you dudes out there get it, like that anxiety of who am I going to kiss tonight?
Right.
Yeah. When you just don't, when it's 11:50, you're like,
Do you guys have that
You
anxiety?
think it's not real, and then the clock starts ticking, and you're like, damn, really?
You've actually had that anxiety.
And then 12:01,
You've been at a
fucking
party and you were like,
checking your
like,
phones for
everyone's gonna be
Sacramento Kings over. And you're like, I'm not going to kiss anyone ever again. No one likes me.
Yeah, dude,
They
I'm
only
from
exist in
college.
movies.
Come on.
You have been at a bar and been like, the dudes are going to look at me and it's going to be midnight and I'm not going to have anyone to kiss.
Yes, Steve.
It's never
Yeah.
once happened.
Also, I got guys that might like just pull it off. Like he might have 5 minutes left, and it's like, all right, I'll pull it off, and then I'm going to be the one who didn't. I don't think so.
Then when you're in a bunk beds later that night, be like, I can't believe you didn't kiss anyone.
Damn.
Yeah.
Guess I'm a loser. I
Yeah,
don't know.
because
Must
we're
have been
losers.
easy
I mean,
for Latino Steve.
To be clear, it's not like I was like
Esteban.
making out every New Year's Eve and had like tons of options.
Kind of sounds like it. Or you didn't even care. That's
I just
how easy
didn't
it was
care.
for you.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. Yeah.
Will
Start a new
Latino
FIFA season.
Steve stick?
Went from Euro Steve to Latino Steve. That's all right.
Well, look, I don't know.
I would post
Picture
this
was-
picture, but the T-shirt, I don't know that I want to have that T-shirt be out there. So
It's a tough T-shirt. It does remind me. It was a bit along the lines of like the female body inspector T-shirt, where
yeah,
like
it's exactly.
I
the
went from thinking it was the dumbest T-shirt to now when I see a guy wearing it, I think it's the funniest thing in the world again. Like it was clever the first time you ever saw it, and then
Yes.
it's like the people that are Daytona, like seeing it for the first time, holding it, but like, oh my God, can you see how the letters work? We have to get that for Rick. We have to get that for Rick. He loves the ladies.
it does.
And
It's like the
then
I
you
Heart
see it-
NY shirt. People like just rocking that in New York. It's like, all right, yeah, listen, you live your truth. Love it.
Also, yeah, same category.
That's a
But
classic
now
one,
when
though.
now when I see it, I just think I'm like, this is so old now that it's funny again. All right. When loyalty collides with integrity. Sounds serious. First time, long time, 5'11", 230, 37 years old, bench 315, married 10 years, relevant. Names are already changed. Okay, thank you. I want to share a situation that's been sitting heavy with me, not to justify anything, but to work through it honestly and hopefully learn something from it. A close friend of ours, Taylor, got invited on an annual buddies golf trip for the first time. Kevin and I sponsored him.
Congrats.
Sponsored him. Historically, Taylor's been closer with Kevin, but the three of us live near each other. Our families are intertwined. Our wives are friends. We celebrate birthdays and kids' events together. This isn't a casual friendship. It's a real-life overlap. On the last night of the trip, Taylor was making out with a girl at the bar. It's not even New Year's Eve. This guy's killing it. It
Wow.
immediately made me uncomfortable. First, because it's objectively wrong. He's married, but also because I know his wife personally, and she's friends with my wife. It crossed a line that wasn't theoretical. I seriously debated pulling him aside. What I wanted to say something was like, it's all blank there, man. We'll never know. He wanted to say something to him, essentially. But I went back and forth and ultimately said nothing. About a month later, a buddy asked me why I hadn't hung out with Taylor in a while. I said, I don't know. He was a lot to handle on the boys' trip. From across the room, I thought she was outside.
Oh,
my wife says, what does that mean?
No.
Caught with my pants around my ankles, I told her what happened. She was furious,
dude.
Not just at the situation, but that I hadn't told her. I explained that I genuinely didn't know how to handle it and felt stuck. That part eventually settled, but the fallout didn't fully go away. She doesn't want me hanging out with Taylor anymore, which I understand. But now anytime any of my other friends want to get together and Taylor's involved, I'm either forced to say no or lie to my wife. Neither seems right. Neither option feels right. More intense. Here's the hardest part. Taylor has always been good to me. He's been generous, kind, and a solid friend. Cutting someone off entirely for what I see as a serious but singular mistake feels heavy. At the same time, my marriage obviously comes first. No question. We agree. It's been several months since the trip, and it's water under the bridge for everyone, but these situations keep coming up. Ultimately, if I had to cut Taylor out, I would, but Kevin and I are long-term friends, and I really don't want him thinking I'm a snitch. I'm aware the situation is already botched for the most part, but my advice would be but any advice would be great. So it sounds like you told your wife, but she never told his wife, obviously, because
which
the
is
guy
great.
Still wants to hang
which
out.
I guess is the good one silver lining here. I don't know,
Yeah.
man.
That anxiety bomb's going to hang around your head like a fucking necktie, though.
Yeah. God, it sounds like this boys trip needs to have like an informational video about what not to do. This is like one of those like things you have to sit through when you first start working at Burger King, and it's like, well, now do you think you should do this or that? And one of the
extra
options is
compliance
totally
training.
not the one, and this is what he did. Crazy. So what should you do to fix this? I don't know. I don't want to go first. What do you guys think?
Oh, I mean, one
Pretty muddy.
You should get you screwed up, but you should get some credit from your wife for being honest about the situation. That's a good feather in your cap. So it's like
Agreed.
That's a win for you, I think. So I think you have to parlay that into being like, listen, if I just like you have to explain to her like how
I would have
bad
lied,
of a situation.
Yeah. I
Well,
mean, I
like,
think it all
what-
goes without saying.
What happened?
course.
You'd be like, oh, can't
too many
handle the
reebs,
brown
right.
water.
Yeah.
Like you got to be quicker.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
it feels like it's so easy to like just
Potty
make
mouth.
something up
Big
to you on
potty
the
mouth
spot.
this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
terrible golfer, yada yada. Doesn't
Sure.
tip the cart girl, all that
Something.
stuff. Anyway,
Anything, dude. But
I
okay.
think you have to use your goodwill with your wife to be like, listen, this is a terrible spot for me. If not hanging out with this guy, the guys are asking questions. Like it just makes the whole situation worse for me. And I think you have to just be honest with her about that because, like, yeah, like it's going to be impossible for you to just not hang out with them and have them not ask what's going on.
That's the best one. Plead with your wife, I think. And like make her see how this is really
because she's the only
shitty.
one that can know what you did, like that you told this story. Otherwise, you're probably not getting the invite on the next golf trip. So.
Yeah, here's the thing. If Taylor finds out about this, problem solved. You never get to hang out with him.
Yeah,
anymore.
go join a bowling league or something because your ass
right.
is grass, pal.
37. You got a couple buddies.
You gotta
can
start
go on
over.
golf trips. Like this stuff's real. Like it's not your wife, but it's pretty close to being as valuable as a marriage.
Yeah.
Start getting older and being like, I'd love to do something someday.
Making new friends is hard too, as this podcast has shown for dudes.
Yeah, dude, over and over again. You gotta fix
I
it.
think the fact that your wife, once you explained it to her, and to Cerruti's point, which is a great point, feather in the cap, came clean on this whole thing. And it's like, well, look, if I were sketchy, I wouldn't have told you the truth about this thing. His behavior is not my behavior. You've been married to me for 10 years. You no idea. I mean, look, you gave in immediately. So you're an open book. She realizes that. But this whole like, it's just, this stuff kind of drives me crazy. Like clearly this guy fucked up and whatever's going on in his marriage or whatever his boundaries of like what is right and what is wrong. Because like depending on kind of what group you're hanging out with, like sometimes you'll be like, whoa.
You'd be
dude,
surprised
like,
what
this
happens
is-
on the off leash thing.
Yeah,
the one
and then
time
there's-
every couple of years that guy gets out.
There's other groups that are just like without like I'm going to make sure that I'm going to bed early and I'm not going to be going out because I do have a family and I don't even want to put myself in that kind of situation. I was like, dude, it's 8:00. I asked if you want to get a Coors Light at the clubhouse. Like fucking relax, And I also think that there's just this line of like, no one's ever 100% honest with anybody else, Like, what are you going to do? Like, hey, what's going on? Hey, I need to talk to you. I was at the Erewhon deli counter and the fucking eye patch guy was working and I was aroused. I grabbed some beef brisket. I was aroused and I just want to be straightforward with you on that one. Like you didn't do anything. You then told the truth in an impossible situation. These should be things in your favor of like, I'm going to golf with him. I'm not going to have an orgy with him.
Yep.
Problem solved.
That's the only play. You're right. Good job, guys.
Okay. That'll do it for the show today. I wanted to end with a poem.
Get
you know
out
what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that
out.
next week.
Really?
Yeah. I'm going to end with do that next week. Yeah. Thanks to Strudy. Thanks to Kyle, the Ryen Russillo Show. Please subscribe to the show. Leave a little review. Let us know how we can get better. We'll do a Friday feedback at some point. Probably not going to put a date on it. And again, thanks to Netflix and that deal. I think we're still able to do some shorts on the YouTube stuff. So we'll keep doing that for the NBA thing.
Yep.
But look, 99% of the content's all going to be on Netflix, and we couldn't be happier about the
Look
whole
out,
thing.
Mom and Dad.
So yeah, look out, Kyle. People start going, if you
God
like
damn it.
Kyle, next thing you know, it's Glenn Powell. It might not even be content related. Just be like, you like this guy. Boom. Here's your next dude. That'll do for the show today. Talk to you tomorrow.